Hello, you guys. Let's talk about Chapter 10, Lesson 4, Circumference and Area of a Circle. Our goal is going to be to find the circumference and areas of circles. So to understand a circle, you really have to understand some vocabulary. A circle is formed by all the points equal distance from a center point. And there's no such thing as a circle without a center point. So a center point looks like this, and then the circle is all the points that are equal distance from that center point. And then a radius, of course, goes from the center point and stretches out and touches a circle. So this is another example of a radius right here. And then the diameter touches a circle, goes through the center, and then touches a circle again. So the diameter has to go all the way across the circle through the center point. And circumference, of course, is the distance around the circle. And circumference is always pi times diameter. Now, you may be saying, well, what's pi? What's this weird shape? Pi is the relationship between the circumference going around the circle divided by the diameter going across the circle. And pi is a constant. It's true for every circle, no matter how small or how large. It's always about 3.14. Now, some other vocabulary is a chord. A chord is important. It's a line segment that starts at one part of the circle and is a straight line segment and touches another part of the circle, but it does not go through the center. Okay, circumference. The circumference of a circle is the product of pi times the diameter. Or another way to think of it is twice the product of pi times the radius. And that makes sense if you think about it. If they give you the diameter, you just multiply it by pi, and that'll tell you the distance around the circle. If they give you the radius, you have to double it because the radius plus another radius gives you the diameter. So the radius times 2 times pi gives you the circumference as well, the distance around the circle. Okay, take a look at example 1, finding the circumference. A circular label has a diameter, and I want you to cross out the 3.33 and put 13 inches. Approximate the distance around the label. So we know the diameter is 13 inches. We need to go around the circle. So we're going to use circumference equals pi times diameter. So let's replace pi with 3.14 and the diameter with 13. And when you multiply those, I did the work over here, you would get 40.82. Now you have to label it. So the distance around this circle is 40.82 inches, just plain old inches, because circumference is kind of like the perimeter of the circle. It goes around it. And then go ahead and lightly cross out example 2, and this is where you're going to put the movie clue over here. Okay, and whenever you want to find the area of the circle, remember the area is everything inside the circle. The area of the circle is the product of pi and the square of the radius. So you always want to put the radius in first, square it second, and the last thing you do is multiply by pi. Okay, so take a look at example 3, finding the area. Find the area of the circle, and then cross out the rounding part. We're just going to find the area. All right, so they gave us a circle, but notice how they gave us the diameter. We don't want to use diameter for the area. We want to use the radius. So the first thing we have to do is cut the diameter in half, or divide it by 2. So 10 divided by 2 gives us 5. And then we can use a formula. Area equals pi times the radius squared. So put the 5 in for the radius, put 3.1 in for pi. Now remember, order of operations, you have to do the exponent first. So square the 5 first. So 5 to the second power is 25. And remember, the last thing you do is multiply by pi. So 25 times 3.14 gives you 78.5. And now don't forget to label it. The area is 78.5 meters to the second power. Area is always units to the second power. Okay, you guys, so take a look at the checkpoint. We're going to find the circumference and the area of each circle. And go ahead and cross out the rounding. We're not going to round. So take a look at number 1. The first thing I do is notice how they gave me the radius. They started in the middle and went out to the edge of the circle. That's the radius. So if the radius is 14, all the way across the circle has to be 28. And so now I'm going to write the formula. For circumference, I use pi times diameter. So I put 3.14 in for pi and the 28 in for the diameter. And when I multiply those, I would get 87.92 centimeters. Remember, circumference is just plain old units. Okay, now for the area. Area equals pi times the radius squared. So put 3.14 in for pi, and remember the radius was 14. Put 14 to the second power. We always do the powers first, so 14 squared is 196. And then 196 times pi is 615.44. And remember, for area, it's centimeters to the second power. Okay, and then for the movie clue, I want you to write it where I showed you, and you're going to write the area is inside the circle, and the circumference goes around the outside of the circle. That's your movie clue. Okay, take a look at number 2. Look what they gave us. I want you to change something. See how they gave us the diameter is 21 feet? I want you to cross that out and put 20 feet. And so if the diameter is 20 feet all the way across, the radius is only half of that, so that's 10 feet across. And so let's do circumference first. Circumference equals pi times the diameter. So put 3.14 in for pi and then the 20 in for the diameter. And 3.14 times 20 will give you 62.8 feet. That's the circumference. And then take a look at area. Area equals pi times the radius squared. So I put 3.14 in for pi, I put the 10 in for the radius, and I square it. 10 to the second power is 100. 100 times 3.14 is just 314 feet to the second power.